You get a bird's eye view of a business that's going lickety-split. Where it happened was cotton and tobacco went sick, and it was either fish or cut bait. There was no question which I'd do. I'd turn this plantation into a breeding farm. And I must say it was a timely move, because right after that, they passed a new law prohibiting the importation of African Negroes. And of course, that sent the market sky high.
Pa! Hey, Pa! Mr. Wilson's coming.
Hey there, Mr. Bighorn. I brought my winch.
All right, fetch her here. You've been keeping track of her. You're sure she's in heat?
She's ready for breeding.
Well, I hope so for your sake. You know, Wilson, if she doesn't take the first time, you're not going to like paying another stud fee. How many days ago did she finish?
My missus counted 12. Should be 13 at most with the trip. You can get her mounted right away. I'll be back on the road in a couple hours.
Is it for me, Pa?
Open up, you black apes! Out of my way! Move, you hear? Hey, master, look at this merchandise I got custody of. I'm the general of the slave market guards. You see this? It's the market vault. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, wenches all prime grade meat, and every one of the sluts a virgin. Get to work, nigger. Now this one, she not even a full-blooded nigger. Damn near all of them got at least half human blood in the veins, like me. All of them sold, ready to be delivered. Gift wrap. Hey, masters, look. Look, but don't judge, huh? You mustn't handle the merchandise. No, no, no. Only the general's allowed to do that.
The dictionary's not certain of the origin of the word, but that's not important. Everyone knows what it means. It used to be that pimps were part of the sleazy underground of every big city, but today they've come out in the open. They get interviewed in the slick magazines. Their customized cars, pimpmobiles, and their foppish clothes make fashion news. Almost all pimps are black. They give themselves names like Hollywood, Silky, Dandy, and Snake. Who are they? How do they get women to prostitute themselves? 60 Minutes looked into the world of the pimp, the man who would be nothing without his woman. Book, Black Players, The Secret World of the Black Pimp.
Nice. Shoot. Oh, the lady, yeah, bring your man in here like it, too. Let me show you what it is, folks. It's about time.
For her research, Mrs. Milner got a job as a topless dancer in a San Francisco club, where she was billed as Tiger Red.
Yes, see it.
Almost every night, I would get the same line from some new dude who'd walk in and see me up there and say, oh, this is a white lady that I want to cop. And he'd come up to me and he'd say, hey, Mama, what you doing dancing up there for chump change? What's a fine fox like you doing standing up there when you could be hitched up with me and making plenty bucks? And, you know, I heard this version and that version of the same line over and over again. And after a while, I learned how to handle it. And I just usually say, I got me a man.
The good pimp is not a violent man. He doesn't get his way by pushing his woman around. He gets his way by understanding the social forces around him, by understanding the nature of woman, and by being able to control his own behavior, such as his own sexual behavior, for example, doling out sexual favors in return for the woman's money or good behavior. So the pimp, as in oppressed peoples throughout the world, is a trickster hero who gains his ends by wit and guile.
And what does he get? The symbols of power. Color TV, magnificent clothing, car, many women. These are symbols of power and manhood to the young black boy growing up in the ghetto.
And his style, his flash, his color, his manipulation of the symbols of power is part of the gaining of manhood by American black men, the woman's money or good behavior. So the pimp, as in oppressed peoples throughout the world, is a trickster hero who gains his ends by wit and guile.
And what does he get? The symbols of power. Color TV, magnificent clothing, car, many women. These are symbols of power and manhood to the young black boy growing up in the ghetto.
And his style, his flash, his color, his manipulation of the symbols of power is part of the gaining of manhood by American black men.
All right, Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushua, Ba'Hashem Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutation to all the brothers and the few sisters that's out there, unto the Israelite foreigners, from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. And as you can see from the intro that I I put together, and this I had to stretch this out a lot because this is exactly, and a brother from Hawaii, we was just speaking about certain things, and I had seen this a couple months ago, and Spurrier never had it where I did a show on it. But this, you already see what it says, Real Pimps and Whores from the 1970s being interviewed. And this is based upon New York City in the 1970s. It was the ABC. I'm sorry, it was the 60 Minutes. I thought it was the ABC. There was another one that I seen. It was the ABC. Yeah, it was ABC. All right, ABC News, to show you how it was, how bad it was. And as I was sitting there watching it, and that rang a bell into my head, exactly what that man has said. And in order to be a man in the so-called black community, a black man in the hood, you have to pretty much sleep with X amount of women to be considered a man. All right, that's your manhood. That's how you become a man in the eyes of society. And this is what was instilled in us as children. All right. Now this came out in 1970s. So right before the 1970s, you had the civil rights movement and so forth. You had standout guys, so to speak. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, all these great guys. And what did Esau do? He took these men out the picture. So there was no other avenue of the men to see themselves as. Then you had the Black Panther movement, which was militant, which was disciplined, and all about black power and so forth. And things like this was not seen. I believe it was a 1990s movie called The Black. It was called The Panthers, with the guy from Different World. I forgot his name, Slakia. And it showed you how in LA how they was keeping people in check, so no drug dealers could come and push anything into the hood. They would keep it clean. What did the FBI do? They got rid of that as well. So here it is. You had leaders or people that was some type of symbol of something that's different, because black culture, that's what I'm gonna name this, black culture is deaf culture. All right, it was always deaf culture from the beginning. That's why I had to look up, I put up those two things about in that particular clips, where a movie called Goodbye Uncle Tom, highly recommended to watch it. All right, Goodbye Uncle Tom just deals with slavery and how it was based on the 1970, filmed in Haiti, and this is one of the movies that was banned in America, but you still can find it in YouTube. Okay, and it shows you the one clip that I show with the Edomite receiving a 13-year-old girl so he could breed her with a stud. Okay, all right, a stud was back then was is a man. All right, a stud is a male horse, but they call men studs back then. Show you how ass backward society that we live in. And his job was just to be a breeder. All right, and from his seed becomes mandingos, which would be athletes and so forth today. Okay, so this is something that was embedded in the minds of our people for a very long time. This is nothing new. Black culture has always been deaf culture. All right, there's nothing honorable by being a pimp, nothing honorable by being a whore. There's nothing honorable about any of this shit. To be a player, like me and the brother was speaking of, everything we've been taught by our enemies, and he taught us how to be a man. Here it is, your enemy has taught you how to be a man. Isn't that some ass backward shit? Your enemy, the same man that brought you here in cargo slave ships, that hates your guts, that killed your people, that damn near genocide your people. All right, this is referring to you blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. This is the same devil that's telling you how to be a man, how to be a husband, how to be a father, and you want to take heed to him, this is the experiment, the embodiment of his product, man. Niggerism, or niggas in general, Sambus and all these other shit. This is the product of Esau, the so-called white man. That's all we seeing, man. All right, that's all we have been seeing from the very beginning of it all. So what we stood for back in the days meant shit. All right, it made nothing. It didn't make no goddamn sense. All it did was make you blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans worse than ever. Worse than you ever was. Quote unquote black families can't stay together. All right, it's all terrible from the get-go. The man wants to be a player. He don't want to take no responsibility of any seed that he left out there. The woman want to be a fucking horse. She want to sleep around with anything that moves. Nobody wants to be a parent. All right, this is the product of Esau's imagination, man, which is also the curses, because the curses was made manifest by the so-called white man. If you want to get real, all right, the scripture tells you, as the ruler of the people is, so all their officers and judges and so forth. Okay, so a lot of things got picked up by Esau. He showed you how to be a drug dealer. He showed you how to be a pimp. He showed you how to do all these other things, and you took this shit in embodiment and saying this is our part of our culture. All right, which is all bullshit, man. I mean, I could go a whole bunch of different ways with this. There's a whole bunch of scriptures. I'm gonna make this short. I'm gonna go. Matter of fact, this is there. Deuteronomy 23:17. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, no a sodomite of the sons of Israel. This is the law. All right, this is the law. So there was not supposed to be no whores amongst us. Not supposed to be no sodomites amongst us. But what do you have in this generation? You have a generation of just whoredoms, man. All right, a generation of just homosexuals, man, lesbians, transvestites, and so forth, man. Why? Because the ruler of this world, man, he promotes wickedness, man. All right. Proverbs 12 and 16. 12 and 26. Sorry. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. And that's what we have. And I was breaking it down. Matter of fact, go look up the word seduce. It says ta'a, to err, wander, to go astray, to stagger, to err, to wander about, of intoxication, of sin, ethical, wandering of the mind, to be made to wander about. Now you notice it says to be made wander about. And who's lost out of all people? Our people. All right. Like I said, that interview was 1970. Now, brothers, we all seen other attributes of pimps and whores, especially, what was it? HBO had a series on that back in the 90s of pimps and everything like that. Oh, slack it. Let me go back to around that time frame too. So after the Black Panthers, the leadership and all that, and drugs came into the quote unquote community, all right, what was being broadcast? And you have black exploitation movies of what? The greatest, one of the top movies of all was Superfly. Superfly was nothing but a player that was a drug dealer, big time drug dealer, all right, soundtrack off the chain. Then you had another movie called The Mac, all right, he was a pimp, all right, and this is what was embedded in the minds of our people to help them to go what? To go astray. So nobody's fighting to make things right. See, in order to get by, or in order to let things go, people have to do the most wickedest things of them all, just to achieve some type of fame and fortune. Like that woman has said, the pimp he does all these things and he gets rewarded. Fancy TV, cars, flashy clothes, and all this other stuff to show the world this is who I am. And all that shows is a people that's destituted of everything. All right. So this is what's been led off as black culture. All right. Nothing but pure death. Because Esau knew if we know who we were, if we follow the law, statutes, and commandments, none of this would fly. And you wonder why the family structure is the way it is, because Esau allowed this to happen, man. The what? Oh, it's Slakia. All right. Esau allowed this to happen. All right. By seducing our people. When somebody's poor and destitute of natural resources, like me and the brother was talking about it, the things that we needed was all God-given rights. We never had it. All right. And right after slavery, what did our people know? They didn't know nothing. They didn't know how to be a proper anything. But yet they was taught by the same people that put them in that condition. This is how you have to be a man. And then when you do certain things, they'll lock you up. They do this. They slander your name. All right, man. Like I said, it's gonna go all over the place because it is what it is, man. Revelations 12, I believe it's 10. It says, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come the salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down. So, which accused them before Yahweh day and night." So you have just top witches and warlocks are telling the Lord, look at your people. Look what they're doing. They pimping their whore, they pimping their women. They be big time drug dealers. They this, they that. All right. But we know the Lord knows what you did. All right. The Lord knows all the things that you did and how you made his people even go further off, man. There was a time where a man would pretty much die for his woman. Now, man, he don't want no thing like that, because these women not even women no more. Israel is completely destroyed, man. Under this man, our people have completely been destroyed. That's a manhood, though. That's crazy, man. Isaiah 47, I think it's 6. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted my inheritance. And all these things that happened to our people, the Lord allowed these certain things to happen. He had polluted us. All right. Now we see the outcome of it. 2021, you look at it, our people, Jake, you don't even recognize them. This is impossible for them to be the Lord's people. All right. It says, and given them into thine hand, that showed them no mercy. Upon the ancient has thy verily heavily laid thy yoke. All right. And that they have showed us no mercy. Sirach 30. I'm going to start at 1. He that loveth his son causeth him off to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end. And we was taught, well, that really happened I'm not mistaken, like the mid-90s, and it was pushing ATS on the parents, because not my generation. We used to get our ass whooped, but the whole concept of a child being chastised or beaten was illegal. It was getting to the point where it became illegal to even lay your hands on your children, which what would end up happening if you don't, like the scripture says in Proverbs, he that spareth the rod destroyeth his son. Roughly paraphrasing, I'm not too sure, but if you spare the rod, that's a sign of hatred. So nobody was there to correct Jake back then, all right, and lead him to the right direction, because they all took them all out. All the people that was in that forefront, they took them out. All right. He that chastiseth his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. Do you want to know why we such a horrible predicament that we are now? because there was no fathers to teach the sons how to be. So what that did, that led the enemy to come in and infiltrate the minds of the people. It says, and before his friends shall he rejoice over him. Though his father died, yet he is as though he were not dead. We have left one behind that is like himself, and this harms the enemy. So Esau systematically, under Lyndon B. Johnson, all right, gave the welfare system, and the welfare system took the father figure out the household. So only thing that was left for the young black men in the 1970s was the streets, all right, and all he believes in was the same concept that his master had taught him, that all he had to do was breed these women, and and that was the lifestyle to live, not to take no responsibility for what he did. All right, this is a systematic destruction, because they know that if the father was taught the right way, if he was into tune with the spirit, if those men was listening to Abba Bivens back then, all right, that the whole world, the world of Israel would have been in a better position. But the Lord did things for a reason, man. All right. It says, while he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him. When he died, he was not sorrowful. He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that should requite kindness to his friends. All right. It says, he maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels will be troubled at every cry. And that was a point with that one. Okay. So now you have a degenerate. That's what I'm going to go to. Jeremiah 2 and 21. Yet I planted thee a noble vine, holy and right seed. How then art thou turned into a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? And having the law, statutes, and commandments would have been raised up right. But now, look what happened to our people, man. Look what happened to our people. And you wonder another reason. Here's another reason why the so-called black family can never come to existence, because the men was taught wrong. All right, and we all got to get out that mindset. Yes, we're gonna have concubines and so forth, but we have to have that mindset. Whatever women that we lay with, we gotta be held responsible for that, because this black culture is a disease, man. It's a cancer, and Yahweh Shai must and will destroy it. Okay. And I'm going to just end it off on this. Malachi 4 and 2, it says, but unto you that fear my name shall the son of righteousness arise with healing in his wings. So we need healing, man. And the Lord is going to heal this wounded. He's going to heal us, period, man. Because that's the scripture I wanted to get before I'm going to end it off on this. Jeremiah 16 and 19, it says, O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge is in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies. And that is speaking of us, because our fathers we inherited lies. From the jump. Here we are, we're supposed to be the progenitor. We're supposed to be the men of the nation. And we was taught to be nothing but tricksters, like the man said. Conniving, players, whatever. We've been taught to be the less of the less. To be whoremongers. Alright? Selling our women. Doing our nation dirty. Okay? We was taught lies by who? By our enemy. Okay, because he knew if we was taught the right way, we would grieve him. It would have been a problem. It says, have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there was no profit. All right, so with that, something real quick. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of other scriptures, but I'm just going to try to make this short. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.